The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, and welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about how to identify stains in your pool or spa and how to treat them effectively. So I'm going to go over ways to identify the stain, as well as offer you some solutions to remove the stain if possible. Leslie's Pool Supplies is a proud partner of the Pool Guy Podcast Show. Leslie's Pool Supplies has been do-it-yourselfers and pool trade professionals' trusted partner since 1963, providing quality products and services to make pool care easy and solutions and expertise to do it right. I think one of the most difficult things with a pool surface is the staining, and it's one of those things where, if you get a stain on your shirt, you have, depending on what it is, you have a good chance of it coming out in the wash, or you have a good chance of it never coming out. For example, I just had a shirt made for my son a couple months ago, and it has my logo on it, and it was a really nice shirt. And within the first week, he got this black ink stain on there that just won't come off in the wash, no matter what we do. And the same thing with a pool is that stain removal is really hit and miss, and diagnosing the stain is also very troublesome or very difficult to do unless you've had a lot of experience looking at pools and knowing the staining on the pool. Even for a professional, it's hard for you to kind of know if this is an organic stain, is this a stain from metals getting in the pool, is this just a plaster discoloration, maybe there was a bad plaster mix. All these different factors, unless you've looked at stains over and over again, you won't know what you're looking at, what you're looking for, what can be removed, and what is permanent. But there are some basic rules that you can follow that will help you identify the stain and also the treatment for it. So the first thing that you want to do is to make sure the stain is not organic staining. Organic staining is when the chlorine level, or sometimes even with a fairly decent chlorine level in the pool, depending on the amount of organic debris that gets in there, and I'm talking mainly about leaves and dirt. So if your chlorine level gets low or near zero and a lot of organic debris like the leaves fall in there, it definitely could cause staining in the pool. And depending on the surface type, I know fiberglass pools have a hard time with organic staining, and they're of course easier to reverse, which is a good thing, and vinyl pools also have a tough time with organic staining. But a lot of plaster and pebble tech pools also have this problem where if you get a lot of leaf debris or dirt in the pool, it'll stain the surface and it'll look like it's actually a permanent stain, and it may last for a couple weeks. And depending on the tree or what kind of leaf fell in the pool, like for example, eucalyptus leaves are probably the most, in my opinion or in my experience, those are some of the leaves that stain the pool the longest. So if you have eucalyptus trees and the leaves fall in the pool and they land on the bottom and you scoop it up with the leaf rake or vacuum it up, you're going to see a dark brown stain there where the leaf was, and that's what organic staining is. And one way to break organic staining is to raise the chlorine level up to a shock level. So if you raise it to 5 to 10 parts per million and leave it at that level for a week, chances are those stains will disappear. Sometimes the organic stainings are a little more aggressive or harder to remove. Even when you raise the chlorine level up, it may still be on the surface. And then you can rub it with a 3-inch trichlor tablet. So there are a couple holders that they make for the 3-inch trichlor tablet. Pentair has one called the Algagon chlorine tablet holder. It's decent. It's not the strongest design. And then West Bay has one, the West Bay Algae Remover, and you can put a tablet in there also and use it to rub the surface, and it should rub off any kind of organic staining that's on the pool. You can try some stain removing products. I think for organic staining, I've had really good success with Hasa Super Stain Out, but you have to kind of identify it as organic staining to have good results. But I've poured that into a spa, a fiberglass spa that was all brown, and the next week it was pure white again. And I've had some success where if the chlorine level is raised up and you're still having trouble with organic staining, Hasa Super Stain Out does a really good job with that organic staining in the pool or spa. And again, it's hit and miss because it may not be organic staining, and then the product is not going to be effective. But I really think that product works well for organic staining if you want to boost it and kind of remove those leaf stains quicker. That's a good product for that. Another very common type of stain are rust stains in the pool, and this could happen if a nail falls in the pool. I've had so many different things that I've dealt with over the years create these rust stains. I can go a whole list of them. I've had Hot Wheel cars fall or be put in the pool by kids. The last one that I just was dealing with was they had Nerf guns that they let fall to the bottom, and the Nerf guns aren't like water guns. They actually have screws in them, and so these screws stained the bottom of the pool where the Nerf gun was sitting. I've had people drop batteries in the pool, which are really hard to remove, the stains from a battery exploding. Of course, you have, again, your nails and screws and staples. I had one person had their Christmas lights in the backyard stapled to their patio decking, and when they pulled them all off, the staples they used fell into the pool, or several of the staples fell into the pool and caused a rust stain. And so for a rust stain, there are two ways to get the rust stain off. If they're a small rust stain, again, like a size of a nail or maybe a size of a staple, you can definitely try using it's called the stain eraser, and it's an attachment that goes onto your pool pole, and it's made out of this rough but pliable material, and I've had good success rubbing off the rust stain with it. You just got to be careful you don't rub too hard because you can rub some of the surface color off also, but it works really well. You can also use a vitamin C tablet, or ascorbic acid is what that is actually, and get a hard vitamin C tablet from Costco, buy a bottle of it. You're probably going to have a ton of it left over. I guess maybe go to Walmart and buy it instead, and then put that tablet on the rust stain and rub it. If you can reach it, you can rub it with your hand, and generally that rust stain will rub right off the pool surface with the vitamin C tablet. So it's very effective of removing the rust stain, either the stain eraser or vitamin C tablet. And again, the rust stains, I don't think you need to do the full metal treatment with that. I rarely will do the full see you later sequestering agent if someone has maybe a nail rust stain in the pool or something of that nature. But I'll go over that process a little bit later in the podcast of what you need to do to remove metals in the pool, which is going to segue into the next stain, which is metal staining. And these are probably the most difficult to remove and the most difficult to identify, and you don't really know the level of the metal staining. Basically, you'll see some discoloration of the pool surface, maybe a black stain, or maybe it'll be a brown, more of a brown color stain. And a lot of times for a plaster or PebbleTech pool, the only really effective way to remove these stains is by draining the pool and acid washing them. However, there are a few topical products I've used over the years that have worked with some success, and I think the latest one that I really put a lot of stock into is the Biodex Aquadex 50 stain out. I think out of all the stain products I've used, this one I've had the most success with. It's not bulletproof. I've had failures with it, but as far as success with this product, it works really well. I'm not exactly sure what's in the formula, but I've used it on different stains of different types, and I can really see a difference in the staining of the pool, and it definitely lifts up the stains in the pool very well. And so for brown stains in the pool that look like organic stains but they're not coming off, I suggest using the Biodex Aquadex 50. It's probably a metal stain of some type, and this product works really well at eliminating it. The video that I filmed on this product, a customer had used Clorox salt in their pool, which I highly recommend against using the Clorox salt brand because there's an additive in there that's an anti-clumping additive, but if there's too much in a bag, when you put it in there, it'll actually leave a brown or yellow streak in the pool, and that's that particular element they put in there. And the Biodex Aquadex 50 does a great job with those kind of stains. Also, any kind of dark discolorations in the plaster seems to work really well with it. I've had pretty good success with it lightening up trichlor stains. Not 100%, but if a trichlor tablet were to fall into a pool, it'll leave a pretty bad burn on the plaster. And the Biodex Aquadex 50 works fairly decent on it. It's not going to erase the stain completely, but it works pretty good. And then you can probably use the stain eraser to rub off the rest of the stain. And I found that the trichlor stains will actually fade over time if you give it enough time, but they're really unsightly the first month or so. But definitely try to treat that stain to remove it. And sometimes it'll come off and sometimes it won't come off the plaster. And so along with the metal staining, you can do a treatment to try to get rid of some of the staining. And ascorbic acid is probably the best product to use to get rid of a lot of metal staining in the pool. It works extremely well on fiberglass and vinyl pools. It works decent on plaster pools and PebbleTec pools, but you won't have the same dramatic effect with those surface types versus vinyl and fiberglass because of the nature. They're basically nature of the surface. Basically, the fiberglass and vinyl are plastic, and so the ascorbic acid does a great job of removing the stains. The plaster surface is a little more problematic because it's basically cement. And so if you ever try to clean your cement surface, let's say you have a driveway and you try to clean the driveway off of stains, pretty much that's kind of be the same kind of thing with the pool. So you can try topical things on your driveway to get the stains off, but ultimately one of the best ways to get the stains off your driveway is to acid wash your driveway. And so the same thing with a pool. If there's a lot of staining on the plaster surface, it's better to drain it and acid wash that. Now you can't drain and acid wash a fiberglass or vinyl pool. That's just because the nature of the surface doesn't allow for that. However, the good thing is ascorbic acid works really well in removing the staining in these surface types. And ascorbic acid is basically a powdered form of vitamin C, and it's highly effective. Now, See You Later, I mentioned that I was going to touch on the See You Later metal eliminator. And basically, if there's metal in the pool, a lot of times some of the staining can be removed with a sequestering agent. Now, See You Later makes their own sequestering agent. I also like Jack's Magic. The product is really good. One way to tell if you have metals in your water is if you were to shock your pool or bring your pH into balance, and then the water gets this kind of green tint to it, or gets a tint to the water. If you have a blue pool, it's going to be more of a green, kind of like a neon tint. This will be the metal ions in the water, and so therefore you're going to kind of know you have metals for that reason. You can also do a copper and iron test with a test strip or bring it to your local pool store. There's a lot of photometers that can do the metal testing also that I carry. So basically, if there's metal in the water, you want to do a full treatment to remove it to eliminate the staining. And so along with the ascorbic acid to kind of remove the stain, you can use a sequestering agent to suspend the metal ions in the water. And then the See You Later, I think the 4.0 would be the one that I would recommend. It's a larger unit and it absorbs more metals. You just put that in your skimmer or pump basket. Pump basket is probably better because it's safer in there, it won't get thrown away typically. And then you leave it in there for the manufacturer. I think on their literature says 30 days, but they're going to revise that if they haven't already, and I'll tell you to leave it in there for at least 60 days to eliminate the metal. And this product will actually pull the metals out of the water, and they'll trap it in the bag the product has a bag, and there's the element inside there. It'll trap the metal in there, and then once you throw the See You Later away, the metals come out of your pool. Because if you backwash or partially drain the pool, the only way to actually eliminate them is to drain the whole pool. But if you backwash it or drain partially, the metals are going to still stay in there. So the See You Later has been the only proven thing in the industry that actually removes the metals from the water itself. And this could alleviate a lot of returning staining in the pool. So if you have a pool with a lot of the brown type tan staining, and then you've done the ascorbic acid and it goes away but it comes back, it's because the metals are still in the water and you need to eliminate those so the staining will stop returning to your pool. And so the See You Later is a very effective way of doing that. Again, another disclaimer that metal staining can be very difficult to identify and remove. And so if you tried any of the products like the Super Stain Out or the Biodex Aquadex 50 or maybe United Chemical Stain Out, any of these products, and you've had no results at all, you may just have to drain and acid wash your pool to get the desired results, because that's usually the sure way of getting the stains out. Again, still not a guarantee that all the staining will be removed. I've seen some acid washes where I thought the staining would come off and it didn't. And then I've seen some other acid washes where I thought it would be impossible to remove certain stains and it did. So basically, is hit and miss with metal staining. Even identifying the actual metal stain can be problematic. It could just be, again, the natural discoloration of the plaster or modeling of the plaster, which is a very common thing that happens in a pool. It's not a defect of the plaster. It's just one of those things that I've heard different reasoning behind why there's more modeling nowadays than in the past. Like if you look at a pool that was built in the 70s, you're going to see like it's pure white still. I've had several of these on my route where I'm impressed with the plaster. It's like 50 years old and it's still pure white. Well, there were other additives that they added back then that are now banned or illegal to add, like asbestos and things like that. And so the plaster mix is a little bit different nowadays than it was back then. And so you're not going to see those pure white plaster pools any longer, or the color plaster pools are going to have different color variations. They may even have some etching and kind of weird patterns in them, and that's nothing to do with any kind of staining. That's the plaster itself. So you want to eliminate the fact that it's an organic stain by bringing the chlorine level up, trying different products like Hasa Super Stain out, or rubbing a 3-inch trichlor tablet on it. And then you want to check for metals by doing a test strip or taking a sample to your pool store. And then you can pretty much guarantee that if the copper iron levels are high in your pool or elevated, that the staining in there is definitely a metal staining from having the high copper or iron levels in your pool. And then you can go from there. As far as the treatment, you can definitely try the topical treatment, but it may not work as successfully as you think, versus draining the pool and doing an acid wash. So you kind of want to not waste, you don't want to waste, $100 or $200 trying to add chemicals to the pool, where simply you can drain and acid wash your plaster PebbleTech pool. For the cost of the acid wash and the water, it's going to be more expensive, of course, but it's more of a cure versus trying the topical stuff. So there's a point where you can spend too much money trying stain removers, but it doesn't hurt to try a bottle of something for $25 and see if it works or not. So I get emailed all the time photos of people's pools, and they want me to look at the stain for them. I just got one while I'm recording this podcast here. I'll take a look at it when I finish. But basically, if you do want to send me a photo, I can try to guide you on that. Sometimes photos are hard for me to diagnose, but you can send a photo to david@swimmingpoollearning.com, and I'll be happy to look at it for you and kind of give you an idea of what I think the stain may be. It's helpful if you also have your chemical levels, and I can look at that. Someone sent me a photo about a month ago. He had a pool that had 0 alkalinity. His alkalinity level was at 0 for, I think, 3 months, he said. And there was a lot of plaster discoloration in the pool from that. And that's one thing that causes discoloration, I think, is low alkalinity. I haven't talked to plasters too much, but when you have a new pool built, it's always a good idea to keep the alkalinity above 100 to prevent a lot of the modeling and discoloration in the pool. So this pool had a lot of discoloration, and my analysis was for him to drain it and acid wash it, and to see if that would reverse a lot of the discoloration in the plaster. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that the alkalinity was at 0 for 3 months, causing the imbalance in his pool, which caused the staining in his pool. So it could be anything that causes the staining. You have to kind of figure it out, analyze it, and get to the bottom of it. But I think most staining in the pool is organic. I've noticed on my route that most of the stains that I see are from dirt washing in and sitting there for a while. Sometimes the dirt has some kind of metal in it or some kind of fertilizer in it that will stain the pool. And a lot of these topical stain removers do effectively remove that from the pool. Some stains may be from the trichlor tablets. If you have a floater and you have a tablet in there and it's over the first step of the pool, a lot of times that will burn the first step and cause that staining. So it could be various things. So you have to kind of figure out where the staining is coming from, and from there kind of go to what you can do to treat it. And again, there's various things you can do topically. And I think it's interesting, if you read the reviews of these stain removing products, you're going to have a lot of 5-star reviews that it worked, the stain's gone. And then you're going to have a lot of 1-star reviews saying it did nothing to the pool. And that's the nature of stain removal. Either it's going to work or it's not going to work. There's really nothing in between, and I've had the same success and failures on my route. I've dumped in a bottle of something that I thought was going to work effectively. It did nothing. And then again, I put a bottle in. I figured this stain's never going to come off, and lo and behold, it's removed. So that's the nature of these stain removing products. Hit and miss is what I call it, because you don't know what the stain is. It's hard to identify, and it's hard to really know if the product's going to work or not on that particular stain in the pool. And I know this podcast is probably not encouraging for you if you have a stain, but there is hope. Again, you just have to identify it, and there's different things you can do to try to get rid of it. Definitely call on your local pool professional to look at your stain. If they have some knowledge of it, definitely ask them if they've seen different stains before, if they can help you diagnose it. And a lot of pool service guys can help you diagnose it, and there's ways for them to try to treat it topically. But again, just be prepared that you may have to drain your pool and acid wash it if it is a Pebble Tech or plaster pool surface type. And as far as the vinyl and fiberglass, a lot of the times the ascorbic acid really works well, removing both organic stains and metal staining in the pool. And if you're looking for more help with your pool care or more information on staining, definitely check out my website. I have different web pages for you to help you with your pool care. I also have an ebook available for $9.99 for purchase on my website. And if you're in the industry and you want to enhance, or if you're just starting out, definitely check out my coaching program at poolguycoaching.com. A lot of great benefits there from joining the group, as well as the ability to call me and text me in real time. So check that out at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. Leslie's Pool Supplies has been do-it-yourselfers and pool trade professionals' trusted partner since 1963, providing quality products and services to make pool care easy and solutions and expertise to do it right.